Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Greek the Week. I'm Jan Moray, and I'm here with my co-host Mona Duncan, and we have a couple other guests, regular guests on our show, whom we appreciate so very much. So thank you for being here. And today we're going to be talking about the power of your words. So Mona, what's on your mind?
Well, in the little intro, I put the fact that we are our words. We are them. We the things we say becomes who we are, and we don't get hit by our feelings. We feel what we feel based on the thoughts we think and the actions that we do. And
well, how can that be? Because all these people, they say things to me and they do things to me, and that affects my feelings.
Well, it does, and that's one of the things we're going to look at. That and say that they do things to me, maybe they do things for you. Just instead of it's being done to me, they're lying on me, they're doing this, they're dissing me, they're whatever. They are doing something for me. All I need to do is listen to those words and take it seriously, but not personally, and to see what truth might be there, because maybe I really do have an attitude. Maybe I really am always late, and can be that disconnecting part. So it's listening to. And anyway, in that little introduction, I put the fact that today we would be talking on the power of words, and how that the words, and then we have these resulting feelings. And as I was looking at that, I thought, well, instead of saying resulting feelings, I think I'd go back and put tag-along feelings.
Tag-along, okay.
Yeah, because it's kind of like Velcro.
Yeah.
In that we start, if you're walking through the yard and there's little stickers there, it's going to grab onto your socks or your pant leg or whatever. And that's the same thing with our feelings. Whatever our thoughts are, that's the meadow that we're walking through, is our thoughts. And as we think those things, then our feelings, just like Velcro, or just like those stickers, begins to attach itself to us. And if we don't like what's being attached to us, then we need to look at it. We need to begin to, well, I want to pull this off because I don't like it. But there may be, so our words, that's the way we communicate. And the more we can use our words effectively to kind of paint pictures or to give directions or to be clear, then the better we can communicate with others, the better we can understand them as we help them to, could you explain that to me in another way? Not that you're not explaining it well, but I'm not receiving it yet.
Yeah.
And so that we can, say things, or maybe let me see if I'm understanding what you're saying.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good way when you don't understand what's going on to phrase it that way.
Right. I know someone that will be talking about 4 people, and it will be she this and he that and she this and he that, and they may be talking about all 4 of them independently, but you don't have a clue which one of the 4 is being actually spoken about. And sometimes I have to say, wait a minute, time out here. I need to know, let's give names to all these people.
Right.
And all these situations, so I can get the picture of who's being a part of what scenario. That words have power, but they also have sounds, and they also have symbols, meaning that we can discuss some things to a degree with someone that is of another language, sometimes just by the symbols that we use, or kind of the poking.
Right.
Of course, passing out's another way.
You're showing on your face. I mean, because you can show that you're surprised or don't understand. I mean, people can tell that by looking at your face and the expression that you have.
Right. Yeah. Whether you're engaged or angry or whatever.
Yeah.
And so as we begin to look at this, that they have symbols and that those words mean something. And as we change our life, we change our words, and vice versa. As we change our words, we change our life. And looking on my journey with words, I love what Albert Einstein said. He says that you cannot solve the problem today by using the same kind of thinking that was
Oh,
used to create it.
yeah,
So
I like that one. That's a good one.
you have to think outside the box. You have to look at things a little differently so that we can begin to look at a problem. And instead of saying, well, the problem is this, well, that may be it, but what is a possible solution to it? And not that there is just one solution. Sometimes there are several, or several put together.
But then we get so caught up with the problem that it is hard to pull ourselves away, to look at it from a different vantage point so that we can find the solution.
Right. And so as we want to, well, first of all, you kind of want to, you need to want to, you need to determine that I want to see things
too, because some people really don't want to do anything about their problems.
Right.
They're perfectly happy just being able to talk about it and to see who else can I talk to about this, but they don't really care to do anything to change it.
Right, or to see who else can agree with me so that we can align together to be against them. And
right.
That just doesn't work. That it just doesn't. But as we think and do a little bit differently every day and be aware of that, we want to be consciously, on purpose, deliberately making those choices.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things in my life that has helped is, well, back when, I had been on a diet my whole life, and wanting to lose weight, and I would, but it kept coming back.
Kept finding you, huh?
Yeah. And the more I thought about it and really looked at it, I don't want to lose it, because there's a psychological thing. If you lose something, you're looking for it. And I wasn't looking for it. I wanted to release it. And I just began to say, well, I am releasing an appetite for it. I am releasing sweets. I'm releasing salt. I'm releasing those appetites. And the thing of it is that once we say something, it goes into effect immediately. We just don't give it, it's like once you put a seed in the ground, it's in the ground and it's there. It's already in position, but it takes a time for it to grow, for it to germinate, for it to begin to bloom, whether it's a flower or a plant or a plot. It needs that those things to nurture it. So as we begin to look at the fact, just as I begin to speak something, it is beginning to, what it's doing, it's going hand in hand with the body, mind, soul connection. That as we begin to speak things differently, we begin to have a different tag-along feeling. But we want to notice it. We want to be aware of it deliberately, on purpose. Is this a release or is it a burden? Am I piling on the guilt, or am I realizing the fact that, what? I may have been right as far as the information was, but I may not have been right in my speaking with the person about it. And as we can begin to honestly evaluate those things with ourselves, and if we can breathe, in working with the prisoners, I will tell them frequently, instantly when you're doing something right or not so right.
Yeah.
And we know it instantly. We just don't let ourselves know that we know it. And if nothing else,
we're in denial.
The way you know it is if you can breathe or not.
We don't always know it because we don't know how the other person is interpreting what we say.
Well,
we don't always know whether that was the right thing to say or not, because you don't know the other person's interpretation.
That's exactly right. We don't, but we always know we have something from ourselves that's giving feedback to ourselves. And I find that it's more accurate than sometimes I want it to be. And so it's being willing to listen to that. And if my wisdom heart is giving it okay, then listen to it.
Yeah, I use my feelings as my guide all the time. And especially negative feelings, when I'm feeling down or something's just not quite right, I'll stop and I'll say, what is causing that? What was I just talking about? What was I just thinking about? And really do some digging, because it's a warning sign that there's something isn't quite right. And so let me figure out what it is and see if there's something I can do about it.
Yeah. And think about it. And then, at least, well, I'll try something different.
Right. Yeah. And then you have some idea of what you can try. Once you try to understand what the cause is, then you have a little better idea of what I can do to change it. I didn't like what that person said. Maybe I need to get some clarification to make sure I heard what I thought I heard.
And it's also, we need to define to ourselves what we mean when we say we're going to try. Are we literal? Is that honestly, or are we just putting that up as a defense? Well, I'll try.
Right. Right. And I know that quote, there is no try. Is that yoga?
Right, exactly. Trying is lying. Yeah, it's lying. Trying, you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it.
Yeah, because a lot of times you'll say, I'll try, when you really have no intention of doing it at all.
Right. And back to the power of our words. And last week when we was talking about being honest, or I think it was last week, but anyway, that, so often I'll go to a store and they'll give me the receipt and they'll say, if you'll go online and do this and do that, you can get a free this or a free that or something else. And quite frequently I would say, okay. And I got to thinking about that. What is their interpretation of that? Do they think I'm saying okay, as in I'm going to do that so that, you'll get a bonus for having the most people respond? Or am I saying okay that I understand what you're saying to me? Yeah. So I have begun to speak, because clear is kind. And I want to be as clear as I possibly can. And instead of just saying, oh, okay, it's that, no, I don't take surveys. I want to let them know right up front, as to what I'm really saying. I want to be as open and honest as I possibly can be, and not
give false expectations.
Right.
That you're going to do it. They're going to get some points. Well, all these people said they would do it.
Yeah. And the thing is that you may say, well, that's such a little thing. It's not a big deal. But it is a big deal, because the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. And the way we begin to make a change in one thing is how we become aware of the fact that there are changes in our verbiage, in our understanding, in our whatever, that would lead to other changes. As we and in reading lots of books, and I find so much, I just see how they stack, how they're saying the same thing just in different words.
Right.
And from a different perspective, but yet it is the same type. I mean, it really is pretty much the same. And I just believe that we as human beings are all looking for exactly the same thing.
Right. Oh, there's so many books that I've read. I can relate to Dr. Glasser's, teachings, choice theory, and they just fit so well together. It's like, yeah, that's exactly choice theory. That's exactly what it's saying. And so people have an idea of what it is. I think that's why choice theory is so powerful to some people, because Dr. Glasser verbalized it, or was able to put it down into a relatively simple format, so you can say, oh yeah, I totally see that. Yeah, that's what I've thought about before. And so you find a lot of these self-help type books, psychology type books, they're all congruent with what he says.
Well, if it's good psychology, it's in keeping with the way our brain works and our heart and everything else.
Yeah. And
how the body responds to it, how the body tags along as to either get well or to get sicker, depending on the things that we feed ourselves. And we feed ourselves words, we feed ourselves thoughts. And, so back to that trying. Sometimes when we say, well, I can't. And, well, you won't know unless you try. But again, what's the commitment to it? And are you even willing to? And then, just change that can't into, I'll think about it. At least think about it. You're not willing to come right out up front and say yes. So that, and pay attention to our breathing. Pay attention to how tense we are. Now, where do you hold your tenseness? Where do you hold your anger? Where do you hold your frustration? What's the first thing to begin to show up? And as we begin to pay attention to that, I like to say sometimes just relax, and sometimes that works. And then I'll say, be it, at ease, because to me that gives me a different picture. When I say at ease, it's like when I say relax, it's like, okay, maybe that, tenseness is going down a little bit. But whenever I say at ease, it's just like it's a disconnect. And it's like, it's like drop it,
Mm-hmm.
And as we think those things, and our mind is going in with those pictures, and as the mind gets those pictures, it begins to punch the buttons that's either going to rile up or calm down. And so it's looking at the fact that those words that we use, whether we're thinking them or saying them, they are doing something to us mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally. And being aware of that.
Awareness, being aware of everything that's going on around you. I mean, it's tough to do, but to really understand that does have an effect on how you feel, what you think, and then sometimes you just get swept away with what people are saying until you stop and think, do I really agree with that? Do I really believe in that? Or you have somebody who's really strong that starts talking about something, and you say, yeah, I agree with that, and you just kind of swept in with it. But you need to step back and say, hey, is that really the direction I want to go? Really
right. As in, there's this little thing on this receipt. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. And you think that I'm in agreement, and I mean, it's nothing to cause an uproar about, but it's just being aware of what we are agreeing to, or what we are saying, and how truthfully we are saying it.
Mm-hmm.
And being open to the fact that everything we say, as well as the fact that the words that we hear, we can take them, well, as Charlotte said, whatever, back up here, I can see the very first quote she put out, that just because you're on stage doesn't mean it's the whole story. That there are too many innuendos, there are too many other things that... So looking at some other words and powerful words that we use, and how we can look at them a little bit differently. And one is to think that something is just so hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's why we say, I'll try, because we're just saying, I'm really not going to, and it's just too hard. But if we take the fact that, look at, well, it's so hard, I mean, our body, if something is hard, those muscles are ready to really put the muscle in there so they can pick it up. But if we just look at it and say, it's not easy. It's not easy.
Impossible, but it's not easy.
Right. And we have not discounted the fact that it's difficult.
Right. Because there are a lot of difficult things that people do. And you just have to decide that you're going to do it, that you want it badly enough that you're going to go through the difficulties.
And when you look at the difficulty, but the fact that you're willing to try, and you put in the commitment to it, it becomes doable.
And you may find out that it's really not that difficult.
Exactly. And then, also to look at the fact that, I can't afford it. Well, maybe not right now, but if it's something that is, I don't know, I find that whatever we really, really want, we find the affordability for it. Of course, that can get us in big trouble too.
That's right. I was just thinking, there's some people that they want that instant gratification. Is I really can't afford that, but I really want it, and then they buy it, and then can't pay their rent or can't find get food to eat because they spend it all on what they want. So
right, and then you find out you don't really want that stuff anyway.
Yeah. Right.
Because it didn't give you the prestige, it didn't give you the fun, it didn't give you the whatever you thought it would.
Well, a
And
lot of times too, the anticipation of it, the wanting of it is the really strong desire. And then once you get it, it just kind of goes away. The anticipation of having something that you want makes you feel happier because of that than the actual receiving of it. And so, this instant gratification thing, it just your emotions go up and down. Okay, yes, I really want it. I got it. Oh, okay, now I'm down. Now I'm going to look for something else that I really want. Oh, I really want this. Oh, now I'm going to get it. Okay, and but to be able to say, well, that's something I really want, but I can't afford it. But I'm going to work towards it. I've got a goal. I can get motivated to do this. So you can use it to your advantage, where you're doing that, whatever it is to achieve your goal. Then you can feel a sense of accomplishment because you haven't used your food money or rent money to get it. You actually worked hard and did something to achieve it.
Right. So we can look at it. That's what I really want. But you take the, use the maturity, put paper to the pencil. That's not a priority right now, but I can plan for it. I can bring it into something that, and it gives you relief. It's something to look forward to, and it really can be appreciated more whenever it is gotten without all the debt that's hanging over it and it's looking at the fact, well, it costs more than I'm willing to afford right now, or that we can't afford right now, but we'll save toward it. And it gives you that goal. It gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah. And then once you do achieve it, take the time to appreciate it. Because I remember, last year, my husband and I went to Machu Picchu, and actually being up there is just a magnificent spot. I just sat there and said, okay, tomorrow I'm not going to be here. This is it. This is the one chance I'm going to have to be here. So I just savored in the sight that, wow, I'm in this magnificent spot looking at all these things that were built, 500 years before, and what kind of a civilization did they have to do that? And so I think that's another thing to learn, to really appreciate that thing that you really wanted, that you worked so hard to get. So let me make the most out of being there or buying it and getting there, instead of just saying, okay, yeah, all right, one more thing. Now what's next?
Right. And, not only something like that, but also those serendipity things, like a beautiful sunset.
Yeah.
The full moon, and you just have this, oh, thank you, and oh, wow, this is wonderful. And just relish life.
Yeah.
Because our feeling.
That's one of the things they say that helps you to be happy, is to learn to appreciate what you have right now. Just going out and looking at the full moon outside or the sunset, and how pretty the sky is, and really appreciate that. Or my spouse, how wonderful he is, and what all he's doing for me. Just to take that time to be appreciative for what you have right now. I mean, we all want things later on, but there's a lot we have right now that can help us, and that can help us to feel good, that we can appreciate.
And it empowers us. That appreciation empowers us.
Yeah.
And then those times that we say things like, well, I have to. And how burdening that is. And it's and it kind of leads to procrastination and all that kind of stuff. And just a little shift in terminology. I get to. Oh, I get to fix a meal for my family. Oh, I get to do the laundry. I get to. And realizing those benefits that we receive from that. I get to. It's that anticipation. It's that it will be appreciated, whether they really say, oh, thanks, this is the best soup I've ever had, or not.
Yeah.
I have a plaque that's been on my wall for a long time. You probably can't read it.
I can see it. It's not doing the things. It's not doing the things, nor like, but liking the things you do.
It's a quote from Goethe.
Okay, read it to us, Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry, can you read it to us, because the recording will only have the.
Yes, I will.
And show it and read it. so the people can see it.
It is not doing the things we like to do, but liking the things we have to do that makes life blessed.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's beautiful. That makes life blessing.
Well, doing the things we have to do, the things that you probably don't want to do, but you have to do it. If you can start liking those things, well, you know, mopping the kitchen floor, then your life becomes more blessed if you can start liking the things you have to do.
And we have a choice in that.
Yes.
A choice in that with our words that we tell ourselves. Yeah, I want to. I choose to. Even if I go there. Even if I really don't want to. If I choose, I let myself know I choose to do it, and then I find that it's not such a big deal after all.
Yeah, well, going back to the cooking thing, and I see that Charlotte doesn't like to cook, but I never liked to cook either. My first husband was never very appreciative for anything that I attempted, but my current husband, he's just so appreciative that I'm cooking, and he doesn't have to eat, you know, frozen dinners. that he, no, whether it's good or not, he tells me, you know, that he likes it, and and so I've learned to cook, to do a better job of cooking, to take more time into it, to really try to find recipes that they'll, you know, the family will like. And it was kind of interesting, you know, last night on Sunday, I invite my son and his fiance live in town, and I invite him to come over to dinner every Sunday, even though my husband and I are now vegans, and he is not, and he's very anti. He says, I have to have my meat. Well, you know, and so I fixed the meal, and then I always, you know, fix some beef for him. I just get some fajita meat and heat it up for him, and so he can have a little meat with his meal. But he told me, he said, thank you for finding recipes for vegan meals that actually taste good.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
So it's, you know, making the effort to try to find things that you know the family will enjoy. So even though cooking really isn't my thing, I'm one of these that cook because I have to and not because I, you know, for the love of cooking. But you can still make it, but it still means a lot when people appreciate the effort that you go through to do that.
Exactly.
That they can enjoy.
And maybe one more little word to look at before our time is up is that sometimes in looking back on our life, we say, well, I shouldn't have. Well, instead of, you know, instead of being brought down by that, begin to look at the fact, what did I learn from that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Whether I did it, whether, you know, and it wasn't done to me, it was done for me, because what have I learned and what have I overcome because of those circumstances? And allow those words, instead of putting us down, instead of engendering division and so forth, let them be elevating. Let them be lifting to us and uplifting to others also. And realizing the fact that every word we use has power. Every word we use has color. It has sound. And use those that are gentle and use those that are loving.
Yes, definitely.
On yourself as well as with others.
Right, on yourself, for sure, on yourself, because we can use such harsh words on ourselves. Well, thanks for that, Mona, and thanks to our guests. And I guess we'll see you next week. All right. Bye-bye.